Here's my cat.
Okay, March. Let's see.
One second.
Okay.
There's Candace.
Okay, Madam Chair, this meeting is live to the public.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Good evening, everybody. This is the March 9th meeting of the Havre de Grace Historic Preservation Commission. I think we're all here. And we're also joined by Director of Planning, Shane Grimm, who's going to give us some information in a moment. But why don't you make a roll call, if you would, Kathleen?
All right, Jean Johnson, President. Kathy Keene, Vice Chair, President. Kathleen Lee, Secretary here. Roger Lee.
Here.
Jim Nemeth. Carol Nemeth.
Here.
Carolyn Zinner. And Ellen.
Here.
Ellsworth.
Yeah. Here.
Okay. And Kevin.
Yo. Only one name, like Cher.
Yes, right.
Okay.
And Shane. Hi, Shane. And I guess that's it.
Yeah, and me,
Oh, yeah. Why did
the
you were
late
first?
comer.
Oh, Candace, I had you.
No.
Yes, yes. Sorry.
That's okay.
If people had a chance to look at the minutes that I only got out to you yesterday, can someone say whether we approve them or not, or make suggestions of errors that were made? Kathy, do you have anything you've got?
Ellen's name is misspelled.
Oh dear. Well, that's a correction that needs to be made. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't look at it, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything else looked all right to me.
Okay. What about you, Kathy Keene?
Yeah, I
a good
saw a couple little minor typos, but I don't think it made any difference to the
Okay.
subject.
Well, when I
So
go
I'm
back to fix Ellen's name, I'll look around for errors of that kind. Okay. They were based on Kevin's debut efforts. I love the way you kept the minutes, though. You got the one really important thing, our vote, obviously, but I
Yeah.
like the way you timed it. Do you do that in your job? Time things?
Yeah. Yes, I
think
do.
that's actually pretty smart. Yeah, I used to try to, when I ran meetings at work or chaired them, I kind of did that in my head because I said, if we don't get to point like C by
Mhm.
half an hour into the meeting, we're in trouble. But anyway, okay, so we're gonna say approval on these minutes then.
Yes.
Okay, and then Jim, do you have anything to share about finances? We're gonna speak specifically about some potential expenditures a little later in the meeting, but can you tell us what our balances are, please?
As of now, the balance for our escrow is $4,072.72. Nothing happened in the past month with
Right.
a donation of $30 from Carolyn Zinner, which I believe had to do with making up for the fact the oyster feast was not held this year, and she
Oh,
did enough to
that was nice of you, Carolyn. Mhm.
difference for all the nonprofits that
Right.
missed out on that this year. Also, the city budgeted amount of $5,000. We still have the single expense, so we're at $4,600 on that.
Could you repeat that, Jim?
Yeah, the city money, we have $4,695.
Okay.
I can report, working at the visitor center today, we sold two Lafayette Trail stickers, so there'll be a tidy $4 in our account next month.
Great, nice. Well, as you all know, that 1824 visit by Lafayette is going to be celebrated, and you know about the marker that's already been put up. So we have our own Lafayette Trail too, don't we, Kathy? But I think there'll be even more attention put to it and to all things Lafayette as time goes by. Okay, thanks, Jim. Shane, you want to just tell us a little bit maybe about the setbacks ordinance, which will be voted on next Monday, and anything else that you want to mention?
Sure. I don't have a whole lot new to report tonight, but maybe before I get started on the setback ordinance, I should just give you a brief primer on, or anybody who's not aware, a brief primer on how ordinances work in the city. So basically, the way it works is if an ordinance is drafted by a director like myself or anybody in the administration, it goes through a series of reviews. Typically, anything coming out of planning goes to the planning committee, which is, it's easily confused with the planning commission, but we have the planning committee, which is made up of Councilman Ringsacker, Councilwoman Boyer, and Councilman Robertson. So I bounce things off of them. If they are okay with it, I move forward with it. If they're not okay with it, I know that it's not likely to move forward without changes. And then also I take ordinances to the planning commission and get their feedback as well. And then once I get all the feedback from them, I kind of make changes to my original draft and I put all those together, and then I run it through the admin committee. And that includes staff from administration as well as the council president to say, these are the things that we're thinking about putting forward. And then they decide whether or not it's going to go on the agenda. So I just wanted to give you kind of a brief background of how that works, because some people may not be aware of how ordinances work in the city. So then what happens is once we get it in front of the commission, the council, there's actually 3 steps. And the 3 steps for an ordinance are, you have a first reading, and the first reading is really kind of, that's what it is. You have the secretary read into the record what the bill is, and there could be some questions from council. And if council adopts it on first reading, it's kind of misleading because you hear council say, we've adopted this on first reading. So everybody's like, oh, great, it's adopted. But it's not, the ordinance is not truly adopted. It's brought to the floor under consideration, and it's adopted on the floor for further consideration and discussion. So we got through the first part with the ordinance regarding setbacks and garages. And then last week we went to a hearing, which is the second part. So you have your first reading, and then the council president sets a time for a public hearing, which we did last week. And we had one comment from a citizen who's also a planning commission member. And then next week will be second reading. And second reading is really the last shot for council then to either make amendments to it or call questions of me. But really, it comes in front of them for a second reading. And if they adopt it, for zoning ordinances, there's a state law requires a certain waiting period. So they're not effective immediately. So I believe it's 45 days. So after an ordinance is passed related to zoning, it has to rest for 45 days before it becomes effective. So that's kind of just the ordinances in a nutshell. So, sometimes those types of things take a little bit of time to get through the process, but that's the process. And so we're looking next week. I at this time, I have good feelings from council and very hopeful that the setback ordinance and the garage ordinance will be passed. And that is really crucial right now because we're going to be seeing in the next couple of months, I believe, a number of infill projects. So a number of vacant lots out there, some vacant lots that will be subdivided that will have new projects or new homes on them. So that's where this will come into play, especially the setback portion. So excited to see that happen. Again, it's one very small step towards design guidelines and things like that. And I'll be monitoring some of the work that's being done at the county on their design guideline model ordinance. So
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
I wondered about that.
Sorry.
I wondered that whole CLG thing with the county and the Preservation Commission. I don't know that I understand that.
Yes. So the CLG, the Certified Local Government, really what that does is certified local government designation means that the county or whatever jurisdiction has to go through a bunch of different things to show their commitment to preservation. And a lot of that is ordinance related or regulatory related. So they come and say, well, we can only designate you as a CLG if you have this kind of standard for design guidelines and things like that. So they're past that. They've got their CLG, and that opens them up to some funding and things like that. So they have a project now where they have a consultant that is preparing design guidelines, and we'll be able to kind of piggyback on that and benefit from whatever good work comes out of that. So I'm waiting on that. I mean, I still think it's probably some months away. So
But-
we'll keep working towards that.
But
When
the,
you say they, who's they?
They is
county.
the county Department of
County.
Planning and their historic
Okay.
preservation planner.
Thank you.
but the county status with the CLG really has no effect on what Havre de Grace does within our municipal limits, correct? You
No,
don't-
no, other than that, we can benefit from some of the things,
Their
that-
expertise and stuff, yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah, okay.
we'll benefit from some of the work that their consultants doing on design
Right.
guidelines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I read about it in their latest newsletter and I wanted to ask you about that, and it does obviously go
Yep.
along with the new zoning change in a way. Any questions on the setbacks and the garage issue changes?
I just like to say that I think it's good that you're bringing up the term. It was a dreaded term, design guidelines in Havre de Grace. And, but we're hearing it more and more. And I think it's good. And I noticed you brought it up when you spoke about this ordinance. So good job.
But, you know, I agree with you, Kathy, and I think some of it is just, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to certain people, but I think there was some level of misunderstanding or ignorance about what design guidelines. You can make design guidelines whatever you want. You can make them heavy-handed,
Right.
or you can make them middle of the road, or you can make them very light. So I think there was just an apprehension about what do you mean. So, you know, I think, as you all can tell, I'm a very middle of the road kind of guy that, find, the path that is going to get everybody. They're not going to get everything they want, but everybody will be happy with something. So that's kind of the approach that I've been taking in trying to get some of these ordinances passed. And with the ordinance in front of the council now, that's a big step, because
Yes.
essentially it is a design guideline. It's one
Mhm.
small
Yeah,
part
Yes.
of it, but
it is. And
Yes,
that's
it is.
why I say this is historic.
Yep.
In Havre de Grace, really.
It is.
So I
Yeah.
commend you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you,
much so.
Jane.
No problem. We'll keep working towards it, and I'll keep working on some other things as well. Some of the good stuff I want to share with you, I've already shared in emails. I'm just totally astounded by home prices and selling prices around town, especially with our existing housing stock and our historic homes. I mean, I can't say enough about the project at 123 North Stokes, selling for $444,000.
Yeah.
Love that.
There's just, I keep saying it, and I know I sound corny, but Havre de Grace is the place to be, and more people are wanting to come here. And I've just talked to, it's funny, I've talked to 2 developers recently who have moved to Havre de Grace, not for development reasons, but just people that I've dealt with throughout my career. They're like, no, we want to be here, we want to be in town. So that movement is really out there, and I really think that the infill development downtown is just really going to, if things keep going in the right direction, I think it's going to really pick up in the next 6 to 8 months. And previously, I may have shared with you, I initially did early on when I came to the city, I did a real quick analysis of infill lots downtown. And when I say infill lots, I'm always referring to everything from Juniata to the river, Old Town. And so at that time, I came up with about 120 infill lots.
Wow.
And I would say only probably about 60 to 70% of them are truly buildable. But that is the true definition of smart growth. You want to grow where you have the infrastructure and facilities already. So, and then on top of that, even a better principle of smart growth is taking your existing housing stock, instead of putting it in a landfill, you renovate. I mean, that is the ideal. And some of our folks out there in the city are doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm really pleased about that. Unfortunately, we are losing a few. Specifically, I know a couple of you have brought up the fact about 300 Market Street. And while it's sad to be losing that, at the same time, it is an eyesore. Just to let you know where we're at with that, I talked to the property owner who has a demolition permit in and approved, but they have not been able to move forward on their house plans. They're not from the city's perspective, but they're working on their final designs and getting financing prepared. So that's why it's taking a little bit of time to be able to demolish that and get started on the new project. So continues to be an eyesore. Hopefully that'll be taken care of soon. The other eyesore, as I've said in the email, Phil Brown's house, Old House 625 South Washington. Super excited that that's going to be getting the love that it deserves and finding a new life in town, and really will be a huge improvement to Washington Street.
Yeah.
Shane,
Yes.
I have a very quick question. It's nothing to do with anything. I've also met the owner of 300 Market, and I'm just wondering if it's going to be owner occupied or if she's doing this like on spec.
No, absolutely not. She is actually, she lives somewhere in the northern part of the county, or did, and they're downsizing. I say downsizing, although I think they're building a pretty sizable house. But no, they plan to live there. And I think she may be planning on, she has a small business. She's retired and she has a small business, and I think she may run her little business out of there as well. But no, they plan to reside there.
Excellent. Thanks.
Just to get back to the 300 Market, we have not received a letter from you about the demolition of that.
No,
property.
that came quite some time ago. So
Oh, it did?
yes. And
Oh, okay.
Last year.
Oh, really? Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah, we
guess I
voted
was-
against it, but
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
it's been percolating.
Missed a lot of meetings. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
have to, I was going to say that I have to call Clerk Turner to make sure that he saves the doors for Carolyn
Mhm.
and for Carol rather.
Carol, yeah.
Carol, and we want the brackets. I have to remind him again because I talked to him last September about it. When I think we approved we didn't approve the demolition, but it's going to go.
Acted on it. Mhm.
Yeah. Kathleen, who did you talk to about that?
Clark Turner,
Clark Turner. All right.
yeah, he's the developer, and he lives
Yeah.
here in town.
All right. If you see him again, just let him know. I'll take one of the upright, one of the posts, because I could use it on my side porch.
I know. We discussed that. I haven't discussed it with Clark yet, though. I have to call him up and remind him. Periodically, I have to do that because it's taking so long for this whole process. And you know about 675, 416 North Union, which is going to sell for 675.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Alan Fair's house?
Yeah, it's Ellen. It was Helena's house. Now it's Alan Fair's house.
And
And he talked to Roger and myself a couple of weeks ago. It's a professor from Morgan State who's buying it. And he is going to have a pottery studio in the concrete block garage in the back.
what did you say? It's gone for 4 something?
It's 416 and it's selling for 675.
Oh, right. Because I know it was listed for over 600. So it is going to sell for over 600.
It's going to sell at 675.
Wow. That was asking, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what he was asking.
Wow.
And
I
he-
know it's amazing what
place.
Shane said about the prices.
I know.
Well, with 123 North Stoke Street, talking to the person who renovated that, they said in their they've been doing renovation work around Havre de Grace for 30 years or more. They said it was the first time in their career that they had a house that they renovated sell within 36 hours of listing, and
Oh my gosh.
it sold
Yes.
more than the asking price. They sold it for more than $5,000 more than the asking price. While that may not seem like a lot, it is. It's still a big deal, because people want to live in Havre de Grace.
It indicates that there was a bidding war. There were two parties that wanted that house, obviously.
And it's my
That's Bill Putnam's house, right?
Bill Putland renovated it, and it's
Yeah, that's right.
my
Yeah.
understanding that someone who is an original Havre de Grace resident purchased it to move back to Havre de Grace. I don't know
Oh, good. Good.
Wow.
who that
Great.
is, but so they wanted to be back in Havre de Grace. So that's just great news. I also wanted to let you know that, well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for looking at the that kind of conundrum that I had at the Farley building, that Steve Gamatoria gave me that big block. And I think that's I think it was Kathy, you sent back to me that that was probably a carriage block for.
Kathleen did,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
It
so-
is funny. It's funny though. Did you see it, Kathleen, how it has,
yes.
it's sort of, it's not totally rectangular like they usually are. It has
Uh-huh.
that carved section, which I thought was a
It
little
was a
unusual,
fancy one.
Right.
because it seems like it seems like that wouldn't be good to step on, because you could trip as you're getting into your carriage.
Maybe
So
there was
I-
some kind of trim or something on it.
I wondered.
It's nice
about it.
trim. It's nice. It's nicely
I didn't
trimmed.
get to see it in person, but
Well, you
So
know,
there's-
it might have been repurposed from an actual
oh,
large
yeah.
old building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. Ken Byers, who owns the facility and now owns the Farley building, he showed me where they dug it up, and it had like no context to anything. I mean, it was just
Oh,
kind of in the dirt in the middle of, I don't want to say middle of nowhere, but it was like in the middle of the property with no context. And of course, they moved it to the front of the property to be displayed, which was nice. But I did want to say, I had an opportunity to tour the Farley building, the interior of the Farley building the other day, and I've done a wonderful job with the facility and really resurrected it and made it a useful building. And certainly the exterior has been brought back to life. I did ask him about, one time he said that they were going to try to recreate the original wraparound porch, but just because of expenses and things like that, it's not in the cards right now, but potentially in the future. But in any respect, I mean, it's really, it looks a lot better than it did. And we have a good steward of that building now.
yeah. Did he tell you about the front door?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Yeah, because that's important, because when I was walking by the house and he happened to be standing outside, and I said, what are you going to do with the front door? Because it looked like he was going to close it up. And then he explained that he couldn't have a front entrance
Right.
because of the facility. It's all locked down. I mean, it's like a prison, actually. I mean, he took me on a tour too, Shane, and I agree with you. He's done a lovely job inside. And
Yeah,
he
it doesn't look like a prison on the inside. It's very.
No, it doesn't, but it is, boy, it's locked securely. So now he showed me how the front of Jaffe's office that you all walk by, that's where somebody sits with all these cameras in front of them, these TV cameras that can look all over the place. So now whenever you walk by, well, I wave now because I met the guy in there. But yeah, I was concerned about the front door, and he said, it's probably not going to look good enough to suit you, but we are going to, we're not closing it up. It's going to be a fake front door. So I was
Right.
happy to hear that.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody else have things they want to bring up with Shane?
Are we going to discuss this resolution 20? I noticed you put resolution 2018-15 on our agenda.
Yeah, I only did that because I was not present for that summer, and I thought some of our newer members should know about that resolution. So it's not anything to really debate or anything. It's just
Right, but I think
aware of it.
while Shane's here,
Oh,
it
sure,
would
we
be
can.
time to discuss it, because, you know, like what's the difference between a resolution and an ordinance, and
Good point.
why
Yeah.
do people make resolutions and
Sure.
that kind of thing.
Well, in August of 2018, which seems like a long time ago now, but really isn't, Ron Browning, who was chair of the Historic Preservation Commission at the time, and a bunch of people on the commission asked, correct me on all this, Kathy and Carol and everybody else, asked that a resolution be passed. It was passed. And basically what it does is it reaffirms the fact that Havre de Grace is a National Register Historic District since 1982. And it affirms the fact that we do not have local restrictions, local protection, but that the city of Havre de Grace endorses the objectives of historic preservation. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember us specifically asking for this. Maybe
Okay.
Carol remembers. It just seemed like, I thought the mayor came up with it.
Good, okay, and then accompanying it is a map, which honestly isn't so easy to read.
Right, you can't read it.
Yeah,
Right.
so that is not an ordinance. An ordinance has more legal weight than a resolution. But it was a nice thing to have happen. And that happened in August of 2018. So I do have the link to it in your agenda, and it's 2018-15.
And I apologize. I remember the ordinance, but I wasn't really involved in why it came.
Right.
I'm not sure what the impetus was for that, other than to just kind of reaffirm that we do have a National Register Historic District.
Right.
And to kind of put it back out there to say, hey, we have this thing.
Mhm.
But you're absolutely right, Gene. Resolutions don't have the weight and effect of law like an ordinance does.
Mhm.
You know, not to dumb it down or not give weight to resolutions, but a lot of times resolutions are really kind of more feel-good things.
Mhm.
Carolyn may be able to respond to that as a councilwoman on that, but usually you're giving resolutions out to individuals and things like that. But ordinances are really carry the weight of law. And believe it or not, we've actually had that conversation recently about how we conduct business at the city, and certain things that we've done by resolution in the past, we're realizing that we really need to do by ordinance.
Mhm.
But when you do that, like I was explaining earlier, where resolutions can come before council on one evening and be adopted and be done, ordinances aren't that easy. So.
Right.
Yeah, the other thing about a resolution is a different council can decide that they don't want the resolution anymore, where it's much harder to change an ordinance and get it off the charter. So,
Right.
so it doesn't have the same protections, let's say, as an ordinance would.
Although,
what
interestingly,
does-
at the bottom of this resolution, it says that there must be a resolution to undo this resolution. And I don't know whether that's routine on all resolutions.
I think it's a boilerplate thing.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, well, what we wanted, of course, what we've always pushed for is a local historic district. And, that has never come up really, but this was, I think he was maybe trying to placate us a little bit. I don't know, because this isn't saying that we have a local historic district.
No.
Nowhere. I think it's just a little feel good thing. I guess, I'm not against it, but it doesn't do anything.
Well, I think it's a baby step, frankly. I like to look at it that way. And you're reminding me, even though I wasn't present for some of those meetings, that it was not initiated by the.
Right. I didn't think so, because
let's-
we wanted a
let's be
local
clear on
historic
that, yeah.
district. That's what we've always wanted.
Right. So it was,
But
I
this
think it was
was
a major effort to reach
yeah.
out.
Of course they have to recognize we have a National Register historic district. And it's recognized statewide. So I don't really understand
Well,
the
nationally.
purpose of this whole resolution. Once I printed it out and read it over again and remembered
Mhm.
about it.
Mhm.
So anyway,
I'll be happy to take a look into that, but I think part of it was just to, from the administration's perspective, say we understand that we have this here, we recognize it, and like Gene said, I think it was kind of a baby step, and we recognize it. We recognize that we need to start taking more of a look at historic preservation and promoting our historic areas, or historic neighborhoods, and we very slowly been moving towards in that direction.
Yeah, and it does specifically charge the commission upon which we all serve to encourage public policy that in fact is preservation.
yeah, it does. That does. That's
Friendly.
true.
So,
Mhm.
I think it was hey, get busy guys kind of thing. And I thought that was fine. So I just wanted to mention it, particularly for our
okay.
members of whom
Okay.
several would fall under that category. Okay. Thanks, Kathy. And does anybody have any questions, new members in particular on that? or anything else related to resolutions and ordinances? No, shall we move on then? Shane, I know you have other things to do, but you're welcome to stay, whatever you
Yeah,
wish.
I've got a 10-year-old that's demanding my attention right now.
Oh, that's a good reason.
Yeah,
Okay.
But
Thanks so much for
nope,
joining
as
us.
always, always available. So if there's any questions, don't hesitate to call me, to email me.
Absolutely.
And so let's hope, no pressure on Carolyn, but let's hope that, Monday night that goes well. We can get that ordinance passed.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds really good, and we really, really appreciate your hard work on this. I
No
know
problem.
we all do.
Have a good
Thank
evening,
you, Shane.
everybody.
You do.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Shane.
Shane.
Bye.
Now, I absolutely am not going to forget to call for a vote on the Heritage Victory Garden quilt project. The Havre de Grace Green Team wants to put a graphic of a quilt there. It will not go on a building. It will go on the side of the shed facing Lafayette Street, up closer to the Heritage Victory Garden.
Oh, I like that idea better than going on the Moore
And-
house.
And I just got this from Anise. Anise is so precise, but you can see here, you can see where the shed is.
Yeah.
And then you can see the design.
Yeah.
And I think it's a nice idea. It'll give a little publicity for the Moore Family Homestead in a county context, because there is a very nice barn quilt trail web thing that kids can do, and families and stuff. There are none down in this part of the county, so I heartily endorse the idea. Knowing Anise and how precise she is with all of her projects, I'm sure it will be done right. So
So Jean, you said it's not on a building, but then you said it's on a shed.
no,
So-
it's next to the shed. I'm sorry. So it won't. It'll be on posts, but it'll be next to the shed.
The Lafayette Street house or the Lafayette Street shed? Which one?
It'll be facing, when you're walking down Lafayette Street from Market, it'll be on your right.
Because that's a house. I don't think of that as a shed, that structure. I think of a shed as being the one
The
that's,
second house, and then this is the garden. Okay, we'll call it a garden shed. It's not the second. There are two houses at the.
yeah, there's one that faces Lafayette Street, a house,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a shed behind it. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
That's more appropriate for it, I
Yeah.
think.
And that wasn't that the boat
Near the garden.
building shed?
That's a boat building.
Yes,
Right.
it's that shed.
Mhm.
That's just for boat building.
Yeah.
And is there a reason why we wouldn't want to paint it on the boat building?
Well, I mean, it's city property. I don't know whether there would have been another level of concern about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that would have been pretty on the boat, painted on the building.
Wouldn't there be a security problem if it's just on a post in the ground? It might disappear.
These look pretty sturdy posts. I can certainly ask Anise about that. This particular shed, I've been inside. It's not all that substantial a building. It's where the gardeners keep a lot of their stuff, and then they do the seed starting in the house now.
Yes.
So I don't. That's
I actually thought that.
Like a building now, and if it's an, that sort of thing on the building wouldn't be harmful to me. And it's
well,
one.
I think. Yeah, I think the problem though is this window. See, this window. Actually, you know what? I'm wrong. This actually faces Market, because this is Lafayette here. So this is kind of tucked in behind, sort of behind this second house.
They would
and-
set it up in front
And
of
so
the.
I don't think there's enough room on this side with that window to do the project, but I can certainly ask her. I just don't know whether the city would be happy about having it painted on the building.
Well, it wouldn't be painted on the building. It would be on a separate panel that would be attached to the building.
Right.
I would assume.
Okay, so you're saying why not attach it to the building rather than doing these
Right.
posts?
Unless the idea is to want it to be facing Lafayette so more people can see it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. We didn't, now, one thing that I didn't understand, and this might have something to do with the cost, is, they decided to sever it like this. And I don't know whether originally she was thinking of mounting it on the side of the building, although she kept telling me we're not going to touch the building. But maybe this was to allow light to go into that shed. I don't know. But why don't we vote that we think it's, a good idea or not? And then I'll ask her why it was not considered to do it as a panel mounted on the shed.
Well, I make a motion that we vote on it.
I'm sorry?
I make a motion that we vote to approve it.
Okay. Someone want to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, you want to, Kathleen, you want to articulate a little bit better what we're voting on?
Voting on the barnyard quilt that's going to be placed somewhere near the shed
Okay.
at the Moore Family Homestead by the Victory Garden.
Actually, it's the Havre de Grace Green Team. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
that's
but
fine.
it's considered
And-
Victory Garden.
Yeah, and it's we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it a little vague. All right. So do I have a vote on yes, or do I who wishes to vote yes on this motion?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
yes, yes, yes.
Carolyn, you're not sure?
Needed to be seconded first.
Oh, I'm
before-
sorry. I thought,
Kevin already seconded it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kevin seconded.
yeah, I thought we'd had a second. I'm
He
sorry.
did. Yeah, he did.
So
Tell her-
I'm
tell
a
her-
little confused. I'm a little confused.
Okay.
So I've heard a lot of discussion about whether we're going to put it on the building, whether we're going to put it in front of the building. Is it going to stand alone? And we're not sure. That's what I'm hearing, that nobody knows for sure. And that's kind of up in the air. So what are we voting on?
No, we're not up in the air about, this is the proposal Anise has passed along. It is 4 signs that stand on wooden posts.
Okay.
That is what she's suggesting. I'm assuming that it's done that way because she wanted to avoid any issues with getting permission on actually painting or installing something on the side of a building. It also might have been done that way because of the window in the shed that they wanted to allow light to still come in. So my suggestion is we vote on this as presented, and I will certainly informally ask her these questions, and I will get back to you about what she says in terms of their decision, or her decisions really, because it's been her. Okay?
We're voting on the fact that it's just on the property.
Yeah,
Yes.
And
Yes.
and it may change. She might move.
it could, but I think she's put a lot of work into this, and there were probably things she thought about that, center around some of our questions, but I'll get a clarification on that.
Thank you.
She's been really, she's given me so much information about this, and yeah, so I think we ought to just say yay or nay tonight, and then I can follow up. If I have any concerns, I'll pass them on to you, but
We're really just saying, do we approve that there should be a barn quilt?
Yeah.
A barn quilt in Havre de Grace by the Victory Garden.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And Carolyn, do you have any concerns from the city's point of view? I know.
No, I just know that we passed a resolution a couple weeks ago to allow the garden club, the green team, to do their seeds in there. So the window would be important because they're doing germination at this point. And
Yeah.
that's short term, but once they're ready to plant them, that issue's done with. So,
Right.
but
I
are we
mean,
voting also on the design? I mean, this is her design, right? She's not going
Yeah.
to change that. So
I don't think so, but if people want to keep the vote a bit general, that's fine with me, and then I'll get back to you with specifics. Just a little aside, I'm sure Anise has spoken to city folks. The Green Team has a really close relationship
Right.
with the city, and Cassie is on our board, and yada yada. So but we certainly don't want anybody saying, oh, holy cow, what are you putting up on city property? Because I'm sure she's taking care of all that. But why don't we just say, you know, we're going to vote yes or no we endorse the barn quilt installation to be specified, you know, by the committee who's doing this from the green team. Okay. Anybody? So we've already voted, but Carol, you didn't vote. Do you choose not to vote, or you wanted to vote no?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to know what I was voting on.
Okay. So good. So do we have a unanimous vote then? We were pretty much yeses, I think, all around. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. I think it'll be a nice bit of color at the Moore Family Homestead. Okay. Carolyn, do you have anything to share with us tonight?
Yes, I do. Let me see. So they've changed. I don't know how many of you were aware of the parade that was proposed from the Opera House to the Tidings Park. Now they've changed that to Saturday, the 27th. So they want everyone to be at the Opera House at 11:45. And at the signage is going to be put up next to the gazebo, and it's planned for about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And that sign is from the Pomeroy Foundation, which is the same foundation that did the sign over the summer for Lafayette's final tour of the United States that we have now. So it'll be a beautiful sign, and that's to honor Elizabeth Forbes. And anyway, she had a nickname Jailbird because she was one of the only women that was arrested for promoting women's suffrage at the time. So anyway, they will, let me see, who else is going to speak then? It's going to be Dr. Rosencrantz is going to speak during that time at Tidings, and when the plaque is dedicated. Now, originally it had said a parade, but it looks like it's just going to be a march. And I understand that, what do you call them? Costumes are welcome, and hats if you want to dress for the occasion. You know, it's a little too soon to tell what the weather might be nice, but hopefully we'll be in with the nicer weather like we had today, which was beautiful. The other thing is the whole week is going to be filled with events for women's suffrage. And there's something that's going to start on Sunday at the Opera House, but I didn't catch what it was, and I haven't seen the flyer. But on the 23rd, on Tuesday, there's going to be a panel discussion, and Dr. Amy Rosencrantz is going to lead that off, and it's with elected officials from Havre de Grace and from Bel Air. So there'll be a panel discussion with myself and Casey and possibly Mary Ann Lasante, but they're in session, so she doesn't know if she can make it back in time. And we'll be looking for some of the elected officials from Bel Air. And then on the 24th, there's going to be a program called Iron Jawed Angels, and Chief Alder is going to introduce that. On Thursday, there's going to be a living history portrayal, and that's going to be kicked off by, I believe it's Patricia Cole. So that's pretty much a rough idea of what's happening during that week, but there are some flyers from what I understand. And Erica Quisenberry has some in her office, so I'll get that. And I don't know if it's going to be, all this is going to be posted on the city website or not, but I would think that it is, because everything that's happening in Havre de Grace that week is would be of interest, and we're looking for obviously good participation. So the living history portrayal is Harriet Tubman. It's called Following the Drinking Gourd, and Dr. Daisy Century will be talking, and she is going to be introduced by Patricia Cole. So I think that's everything I have on the Elizabeth Forbes dedication, plaque dedication in the park on Saturday. But I just really wanted to be sure everybody knew that the date had changed. and that it's not a parade per se, it's just a march. So if anyone's still concerned about social distancing, that you can walk at your own pace and keep your distance, and it's all outdoors. So I hope it can be well attended.
Great.
Thanks, Carol.
So that's pretty much all I have from the city's perspective. I did bring up after the meeting yesterday, the plans for May with the house tour, with the walkabout kind of thing, and that you're planning. So, and I told them that there would be more information later on, but I just wanted to throw it out there that this is something that the HBC's planning. And we already checked with Patrick. We don't need an event form completed because we're not using any city services. And it's just basically an informal walking tour for those who want to participate.
Right. Yeah, we've got some news on that later. Were you going to try to say something, Kathy Keene?
No.
Okay, all right. I think the Elizabeth Ford's thing is just a wonderful project. I sure as heck never heard of her. And so
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful. This Pomeroy Foundation really spends the bucks on two things. Historical markers and blood cancer research. It's a very interesting
That's interesting. Yeah.
focus of their philanthropy, but we are very grateful for their interest in doing the women's votes. I think it's called the Women's Votes Trail or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, she was the president of the Harford County chapter of the Just Government League of Maryland.
Right. And yeah.
And she did visit the Graw racetrack, passing out flyers there. That must have been something to see.
Oh yeah.
Here.
Well, yeah. There were communities that threw stones at the women. Yeah. Not ours. Thank goodness. Okay. Anything else on city stuff?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay. So Shane, of course, brought us up to date on some of the good news on some of the houses that are being brought back to life in town. And I had a conversation with Kathy Keene about this. I really screwed up on the process for the voting and the demolition letter and all that for for the Concord Street property and 618 Concord and 1921 Pulaski Highway. So if you could just give me your advice on that demolition letter. It's obviously late. It's the horse is out of the barn, but I just wanted to do it so that there would be a record of that. And
I thought your demolition letter was fine. Did you send this to everybody?
Oh yeah,
I saw it. Yeah.
Right.
I thought it was fine.
okay, good. All right, thank you. If you later read it or think of stuff, let me know, but I will send that off to Shane. I mean, he knows, we all know every,
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Done.
I think that's done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will, over the next few weeks, make more of an effort. And I know I told a couple of you this, that I now realize that I can do a lot more with the file space on the city's web or
Shared drive.
Google space. So I will be parking a lot of files there, including all the documentation that was done by Carol Nemeth and Diane Clare and Shane, of course, and other people. Iris Byers wrote up things, and we'll park that there about the Mitchell property and any other property that we decide we would like to pull information together about. So
Yeah, well, how about the stuff Kathleen has found about that Hamlin guy that lived in her house? That's really-
yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah,
we need
I
to
had
put
no
that on our
idea.
Google Drive,
He was a
because
big
that
shot.
was really
Mhm.
interesting history of a important house in Haverty Grace.
yeah, I love that. I love
had
that.
no idea. I'm still working that up. I still keep finding more stuff about him.
Well,
He's
I
amazing.
forget, Kathleen, was he he was the builder of the house?
He and his wife Averilla Jane built the house.
Mm-hmm.
And he, at the time that he did it, he was working at Battery Island or Shad Battery Island. And then he became the superintendent of the island. And then he became the commissioner of the whole Upper Bay area for the fish and the
Interesting.
fishery, U.S. Fish and Fishery. So he was a high-level civil servant. And
Interesting.
he loved his detail work. He must have counted every fish, or his staff did, because looking at some of his charts that he created are just amazing. I mean,
And how did you get access to his charts? Were they in the house?
I went on the internet. I went on ancestry.com. I went on the Mormon family search thing. I looked up the
Okay.
U.S. Fish Commission once I discovered
Yeah,
that it existed.
Some of
And
that stuff's
it
in
was all
the
over the place.
yeah, it's in the serial set. Yeah, there are a lot of great sources out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
nice.
he was I mean, he was all up and down the East Coast, and he was in the Civil War. He was in the Marines, and then after the Civil War, he switched over to the Navy. And then
Wow.
he was borrowed by the U.S. Fishing Commission when they were created in 1871. They borrowed him, and never looked back, I guess. And
You
he
know,
had 7.
I mean, this is of enormous interest from a preservation point of view. And of course, it's your home and you've done such a beautiful job restoring it. But it's also, these older reports are so important now as we confront climate change, because we can look at what the, range was for some of the fish and the size of the, population.
Not only that, but he gives the temperatures
Very
on the
important.
days that they caught fish.
Yeah, that is just invaluable information.
In
Yeah.
1894, he caught 1 million yellow perch eggs from the Northeast River on March the 9th, which is a year ago. The year before, he had gotten his yellow perch eggs on the 16th of March. It was colder that year than it was in 1894. I mean, it's just fascinating, the detail.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was a scientist. He kept track of his data. Yeah, it's just
And
great.
he had no education at all except, I guess elementary school. And then I think he fudged his age to get into the Civil War, because we have different ages for him.
Where was he born?
He was born in New York State, and his father was William Caswell Hamlin, and he was a sea captain. He listed his occupation on the censuses, the various censuses, as a mariner and sea captain.
Interesting. Oh, that's wonderful. We should do a whole program on these hidden stories of Harriet Grace. It would be great.
Well, I think Erm Brown is doing the most.
Oh, we lost you.
Oh, I think.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think that Erm Brown is doing the Mosaic Project.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where they're trying to, find these little hidden stories and,
Yeah,
what's happening in
absolutely.
Harriet Grace.
There's a wonderful interview. Well, there's a bunch, but there's some interviews that the Harford County Public Library did in the late 70s. And
some of those, yes.
Yeah. And the one I happened to listen to recently was just a hoot. It was Graham Dennis's mother. So her last name at one point was Carlson, and her stories of growing up on a farm outside Harriet Grace, and then later becoming a very prominent, builder and person in her own right. It was just wonderful stuff. It was really.
I love that kind of stuff. I love those kind of stories.
Some of the stories of before, now not in her time, but there was another one I was listening to about, the confiscation of all that waterfront property and farms in Aberdeen and Halls Crossroads and everywhere.
Oh yeah, for the Aberdeen
proving ground and the loss of family homes. It's just really fascinating. Anyway, we digress. Anything to share about the medallions or anything else related to tourism?
Let's see, as far as the Lafayette Trail medallions, I haven't heard anything. They've been ordered and paid for, and they're in the hands of DPW.
Okay. Well, they're probably waiting for better weather.
And they're gonna install them. So there's 10 of those.
Okay.
And they should be going in probably before too long.
Okay.
So, but I haven't heard anything definitely. Judy Plitt is mainly dealing with that.
Yeah.
But she lets me know everything.
Yeah, Judy's very careful about it. Okay. All right, we did number 1 on new business. Yesterday, well, let me just tell you a couple couple things about the County Historic Preservation Commission. I know both Jim and I were kind of interested in all that, and I've been signed up for their news, to be on their email distribution list. And I think I might have shared with you, Diane Clare knows Jacob Benson quite well, and he's the new preservation officer for the county. Anyway, there's some interesting stuff going on there, including the certified local government stuff we alluded to earlier. But I'd encourage all of you to get on their mailing list. They just sent out a nice newsletter, and they go into a lot. I haven't read it cover to cover yet, but they go into a lot about the celebration of the 250th anniversary of Harford County coming up, and also the Lafayette tour.
Yeah, how do you sign up?
Just go to their website on the county page, and
It's Harford County Historic
Preservation.
Preservation Commission.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would be
Yeah.
interested in that.
And then when Carol and Diane and Dave Layfield, who is the developer at Green Street Housing, who's developing the Mitchell property,
Yeah.
we got involved with doing some investigation and offering some ideas on some local history connections. We got to know Iris Barnes, and Iris Barnes is a Havre de Grace resident who serves on the County Historic Commission. And it was very nice. I haven't met her face to face yet, but it was nice getting to know her. And she's an incredible historian. She serves on the Hosanna School board. Maybe she chairs it. And she is, her book on a very famous court case that dealt with the Fugitive Slave Act, which was a case that came out of Harford County, is being published soon by Johns Hopkins Press. So she's got an incredibly in-depth knowledge of the region's history, and she's working on it must be a driving and walking tour of our area as it relates to events in African American history. So she's a great resource, and she is our Havre de Grace person on the commission. So I would encourage you to read their newsletter and sign up for their email. They meet the second Wednesday of the month, and of course they've been meeting virtually as well. Okay, so yesterday, Carol and Candace and I met talking about the tour idea. And for a variety of reasons, having to do mostly with giving us more time to do it right and plan, we thought that it made more sense to shift this to next year. And Candace and Carol, jump in if you want to say anything, but we had a really nice discussion about doing it. We have over 70 properties that have received awards in the last 20 years, and that's a lot of information.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
To pull together and to be able to present in a brochure that wouldn't, hurt somebody's back carrying it around. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to take that longer time to plan the tour, but we're going to decide to go ahead with the flag idea. And maybe Carol, you can tell everybody what we've found out and bring people up to date about what we were thinking of.
Okay, so number one, I want to add to that Jim Nemeth, I think, is going to, join us on this subcommittee for this walking tour. So thank you, Jim, for that. Also, as far as the flags are concerned, Paula from Big Sign said that the flag would cost $36 each if you did one side. Personally, I wouldn't want a one-sided flag, but yeah. For two sides, and this of course is going to say, our slogan, our history is worth preserving, and with the beautiful, with all of the beautiful scenes on it. So that would be $60. There we go. And that would be $50. If they got poles and pole handles, that would be an extra $30. My guess, is that most of these people have their own poles and pole handles, but in any event, that's how much that would be.
But this is based on only producing 10, right?
Yes, it is. So what we had decided, what I'd like to do is if, I can go, several of us can go. I want to go to their homes personally and talk to them about this and see if those homes that have received an award would like to purchase one of those. And one of the things that we talked about was, do we want to subsidize this? Because Jim, please speak up, because he was saying that their Havre de Grace flag is, I think he said $40 or $45. So he said, we don't want to, charge more than the city charges for their city flag. So, the question to the commission is, do we want to subsidize for that? I've heard, or, and if so, how much? Like maybe, I don't know, pay half. We subsidize half and we just say $25 for the flag. And then we have that wonderful flag on these historic homes. But that's something that we can talk about in a minute. We also had talked about the yard signs, and the yard signs are shorter, and they go on 2 poles. And that would also say our history is worth preserving. They're $25 each, and that's for 10 at a time. And then it's $2 each for stakes. And if you want the heavy duty stakes, they're $5 each.
You don't need that.
And that was something, the yard signs were something that we were talking about placing in front of those homes that had received awards. Now they're a little bit pricey, but I pointed out that, number one, the reason it feels so expensive is that we now have 70 of these flags. I mean, if you get a few every year, as time goes on, then it's really nothing. But each time we would have an event like this, we could have those yard signs so that when people were walking, they could easily, identify those homes by this yard sign that would be in front of it. Question being, how would we pay for it? In other words, would we pay? We had thought about paying for half of them this year and half of them next year. Just breaking it up. These are all things up for discussion tonight. There was a thought, and Jean was that Jean had. We just discarded that. And that was to have like a box inside of it that was blank.
That got too expensive. Yeah.
Okay, so that you could have like different events showing. But then we thought, were there enough events that we would have that would be different to to do that? Could we justify that? And we thought, well, maybe we'll just go with the whole look. So anyway, so what does everybody think about all these things I just said?
Could I just jump in for a second? The idea of the flags, of course, had been floated earlier by Carol. This whole lawn sign thing, it's not something that we have to do now because we're not doing the tour this May. But we could expend some money out of our city allocated funds to buy some, maybe half of them, and then buy the second half in the new fiscal year. So that was sort of one of the thoughts on that. So go ahead with whoever wanted to say something.
No, I just wanted to say that I like the idea of the lawn flags.
Uh-huh.
Great idea. And it's a lot less expensive than the big flags.
Well, the idea was that the banner refashioned as a lawn sign, like a political sign, sticks in the ground, stays in
Right.
for a week.
Right.
Those would be on the houses, but the flag could be bought by anybody in town, anybody
Right.
who wants to support. I mean, I'll fly one on my, 1952 house. And this would look very much like our banners that we already have around town, but it'll have the city logo and have a Historic Preservation Commission on it. And as Carol alluded to, they could be reused for different, let's say we had some kind of, I don't know, speaker or event or something in one of our historic locations, we could stick a bunch of these in the ground. I mean, they could be, sort of used in a variety of ways. But it is an expenditure. Don't you think it would come down to quite a bit less than 25 for each lawn sign, Carol? Because
In other words, you mean if we got a whole bunch
yeah,
more?
if we bought 50 this year and
I think she would come down in price, and they're durable.
right.
You're not going to have to buy one every year. You're durable. We're in control of those. HPC is in control of these yard signs. We put them up for events and we take them back down. Okay. The flags are something different. The flags are something that we're offering citizens, anyone who wanted a flag. And, but we're going to begin by approaching those people that have received awards and say, would you like a flag? And if this commission deems it correct and proper, then we can subsidize them so that it's not a big expenditure, and we could have those flags hang proudly from porches all over town. Again, that's they're paying half, and maybe they're paying a portion of it, and maybe HPC would pay a portion of it.
So let me make sure I understand this. I thought the idea of however you were going to identify the properties were just going to be for those properties. So if you were doing a tour, for example, and either somebody was flying a flag or using the yard sign, people would know that is one of the houses that was awarded a historic preservation award. So I didn't.
For any time, like I could just say, I love my flag and hang it like I would any other flag on my porch. The yard sign would be specifically to identify those homes that would be on the tour. Like they'd be walking up the street and say, oh, look, there's another,
Okay, so then it sounds like two things then. Anybody who wants a flag can buy a flag, but but the yard signs would be specific for that particular tour. And then if we picked them up and collected them, if there was an event in town, are you saying we would put signs out again?
And and the HPC event, we've been tossing around a few ideas for events that we'd like to have. And then during those events, we just put them around, put them around in the booth, wherever we're having some event that involves HPC. Then we would put those. Those would be for our use during any event that we are hosting. But the flags are just so the citizens of Havre Grace who support historic preservation could make that known, and with their flag that they themselves would pay for, at least in part.
I see. Okay, I just wanted to be clear how these different items were going to be used and how, because we were going to, my understanding was we were going to speak to the owners of the homes that have won this award, make sure that they were comfortable with people walking around and being near their home, and that there would be something that designated them as a winner of the preservation award and a part of the tour, but not necessarily interior, just exterior.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, but that would be the defining thing, that if you were looking for a home that you could see it. Because I remember driving Pete around and doing districts and looking for the house numbers and the streets and things like that. So if there had been something there, it would have been easier for that. So I think that if anybody's walking around, to see it visual would be very helpful.
Well,
Yeah,
isn't there the possibility that some of the owners would not want a flag or a sign? That they really wouldn't want to have their house,
Yeah, I think so. I
pointed
think that
out?
is, yeah, I think that is a possibility. But at least the ones that are okay with it, there would be something that defines it as being one of the properties.
Mhm.
And then when
Yeah.
you give out the awards every year, they always get a Harvard degree.
They get a plaque.
Would we also want to maybe give them the history flag?
Well, we can talk about that as a budget.
Yeah, I think we could talk that, yeah.
Yeah,
Consideration.
we already give them a plaque that is about $100
Right.
for us to purchase, so, yeah. Just so everyone knows, I don't want for anyone to feel cut out of this thing. I think we're all gonna work on this tour if you want to. I just called upon Candace and Carol initially because I just wanted to have a little conversation about what made sense, and I was having some personal reasons for why May wasn't gonna be so great for me this year. And also, as both Candace and Carol pointed out, and I agree with them, we really just didn't have enough lead time to plan it well. So Candace is, for example, going to be researching other communities and the kinds of web content and brochures that they've done. So this, having a longer planning process will, I think, benefit and make it a nicer event. And, it may turn into an annual thing, who knows? But that was one thing I just wanted to point out. The other thing was we might consider using something like QR codes. We have an issue with a lot of, I know Kathy's, you must be smiling, Kathy, because I know you've dealt with this in the Lafayette Trail, trying to fit all that information into a brochure that doesn't look too busy or too easy to read and all that stuff. So we did investigate using the district app, but that's just not, it's cost prohibitive. So we might do something with a QR code, which a lot of people are familiar using now on their smartphones, or some other thing, but there will be some kind of a paper brochure, maybe one that has some abbreviated information about the house, and then on a website we could offer more history background on a particular property.
Right. I would
jump in.
I like both ideas of the flags and the yard signs, but they're not the yard signs aren't going to designate the house as being an award winner. There's no text on it that says that, right?
Yeah, what I had originally asked Carol to ask Paula about was doing a sign that actually has an editable area.
Yeah.
And there would be like a little plastic sleeve that you would stick the information for that particular house into. That's a very grammatical sentence. But this is so expensive. It just isn't a practical thing. So we would certainly give the date of the award and the home owner and the address and all that stuff in the brochure.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, if we were going to use the yard signs, I don't think we should use them until we do this tour, because otherwise,
right. Oh yeah.
People already see them up for, because you said we can use them for lots of other things.
No, after the tour.
Yeah. So that people would know this little sign designates one of the houses that won an award. I would suggest that.
But
yeah.
Not until, the idea was, because we have money left in our city allocated amount, we could purchase this fiscal year some of the signs.
Yeah, we should do that. We have $4,000.
We really need to use that money wisely. And I we could decide to buy a few more medallions, but I love this idea for us to have kind of a supply of these lawn signs that we could use.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. And the flags, I don't even see why we should go to the houses that won awards first. Why wouldn't we just
Uh-huh.
go to any old house and ask them if they wanted to buy a flag, you know,
Yeah,
up and down
good.
Union Avenue or whatever.
Mhm.
There's no
Mhm.
reason really just to go to the houses that won awards. I can't see.
Yeah.
You know, I think if we're going to promote the flags, I think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
And
Reason I said that, Kathy, was because to begin with, because those people in particular, for the most part, I would say, are interested in historic preservation, and that we would have probably the greatest chance of having them say yes, since they've won an award from
Yeah.
the BBC in the city.
oh, I see. Well, that's true.
And the pride in that to say, hey, and by the way, we have this flag and we're going to subsidize it, you know, reduce the cost.
Yeah.
Hang it proudly on. And then when other people start seeing more flags hanging, they're like, yeah, I want one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should not ask them to pay any more than $25 for a flag. I mean, we do have the money to subsidize it. But oh, another thing, Carol, if we go to our award winners, that's a chance to say, by the way, I don't see your plaque up. Would you like us to help you? Would you like to put it up?
Need some help?
Yeah.
Nothing subtle, right?
Not subtle. We're not subtle at all.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. And we'll, our little subcommittee will churn along and we'll no doubt come to everybody with questions. And if people have, you know, we're all such history enthusiasts. If you have examples of, you know, walking tours you've been on, or, you know, knowledge of a certain community that does an interesting job promoting their preservation efforts, that would be great. Candace, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would love if anyone has any information to share with me so that I can shorten my research. That'd be awesome. But the other thing we need to figure out is a platform for the homes, the information on the homes. And I the one thing I'm not sure about is, you know, we're the commission for the city, within the city. I didn't know if we could use the city website or not.
Right.
For that, if there's a way that the preservation committee could have just a little bit of real estate on the city website. I didn't know if that was possible or not.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible because we're a city commission.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because that would be a way for us to.
They've promoted the Lafayette Trail on the city website, right on the front page for a while.
Okay.
Adam, what do you think about that? Is Adam?
I think
Is Adam listening?
Yeah, I think he's
Yeah, what are you looking to promote an event, or are you looking for, what exactly are you looking for on the website?
We wanted to have content of a various kinds. We wanted to have information on the National Registered Historic District. There's nothing on the page about that. We wanted to have information on tax incentives for preservation. We wanted to at least have the current year's preservation award winners.
Yeah.
Ideally, we should have all of them there, but for a start, that would be good. Just basic information on historic preservation. If you go to other communities, you know, websites, they have this kind of stuff, and that's all. So you come back, Adam, so we get to ask you.
So you do currently have a section on the city website. Any content you supply me with, we can put there.
Okay, great.
Good to know.
Okay, that's the kind of answer we want to have.
Yes.
Quick one.
It's not that easy to find though, because you got to go to the website, then you have to go to government, then you have to go to boards and commissions, and then you got to go to historic preservation. So it's not that easy to find, you know, unless you really know what you're doing.
I know. I know, that's always a problem with web design.
Great
But
news.
we'll work on that.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
No problem.
Hey, Adam. Hey, Jean, is it proper for us to have kind of a vote tonight about, whether the commission agrees to that we should subsidize the flag, and B, to what extent? $25 sounded right to me. So that would be half the cost. But I'd like to know what the commission feels, and is it appropriate that we talk about that now so that I could get that ball rolling with Paula's big signs? So,
Mhm.
is
Well,
it
first of all, we will be ordering more than 10, so I think the price will go down a bit. So we don't actually know the cost yet for sure, but we have an idea. I think $10 a flag is plenty to subsidize people. But what do other people think?
I don't think they're going to buy it if these flags are going to cost them too much money. And if we only subsidize $10 for each flag, that's going to still cost them $40 for a flag.
Right.
I don't know.
But these are people who have already received a $100 plaque from us.
I know. We have to remind them of that.
Yeah, but
Okay.
they don't know that though, Jean. They don't know the cost of this plaque, and even if they're grateful, like, hey, thanks for the plaque, they would still be like, do I want to spend $40 for a flag? I don't think it's. I agree with Kathy. I think paying half, 25. I think it's right. Like, I'd be more. We've got the money, and it's a great incentive for the town. I'd love to see these flags hanging all over town. Like, sure, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'd like to see those flags all over. So it reminds people, hey, we're a town that is proud of its history, proud of its historic preservation, and I think we should. I think $25 isn't, and Jim had said $25 too. I think Jim. He ran off. I found
Yes.
There it is, Jim. You had said what you thought would be like a good price for the flag for us to subsidize it.
I'm, like I said, I think to buy a full-size city flag at Visitor Center is $40. And that's the city flag. I personally think that asking somebody to pay $25 for this, you're not going to sell any. So it's up to you what you're interested in. If you just want to get the really wild-eyed folks who will pay for the flag, then you charge what you want. But I think if you're really hoping to sell a lot of them, that you probably have to bring your price down to something very reasonable. People have, doing you a favor by flying in the first place, and I just think that not with very many of them used. If you charge.
I don't know whether Jim is cutting out for everyone, but he is for me.
Yeah, there's some kind of
Yeah,
noise.
me
And
too.
what were you saying is a price to the buyer that is acceptable? 45 and less?
I don't think
25.
Yeah.
I like the idea of us subsidizing at least half of the cost of the flag.
Okay.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Now
you.
we can.
Yeah, there was some kind of interference or noise.
Okay. I was going to say that I don't think more than, if you charge more than $25, you're not going to sell any. You're
I
gonna,
agree.
I shouldn't say that. You're going to sell very few. I like something Kathleen said, where she kind of mistook the lawn signs for a little yard flag, I think.
Yeah,
She looked
that's
at
what I
it,
thought it was.
and I'm wondering if that might not be a second option that you could check with
Paula.
Paula.
big house signs, and see what would it cost to put something like that, have something like that to put out. Because a lot of our properties are really close to the sidewalk, especially the historic ones. And just
Right.
a little sign like that might be something a lot of people would like, and it would certainly be a lot less expensive than
Yes, it would.
flag. And actually, it would be easier to read because a full-size flag sitting on a flagpole is usually up.
It's all folded up.
Yeah, and you don't know what it says.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
That,
flag.
yeah, your suggestion kind of reminds me of, in a lot of communities, there, people have signs in their yards that say, I love the library. You know, so what we're basically saying is we love historic preservation.
Mhm.
I don't know. Somebody told me we're not supposed to put signs in our yards in Havre de Grace.
But you can put garden flags in your yard.
Yeah. I had signs
Well,
in my
wouldn't
yard.
that be pretty
Pandemic
much
and
like,
during politic time, but
would that, Jim or whoever, I think it was Jim, that would be the same thing as the yard sign, except it would be a flag?
Yeah.
And it would be,
Yes.
would it be supported like a,
There's
like,
a little L-shaped metal
Yeah, they have
bracket.
these little L-shaped bracket things,
Yeah.
little wrought iron things. I have a whole bunch of them.
oh, yeah, right,
And it
right.
flies from that, hangs
And
down.
it hangs down so you can read it. A flag would be all, folded up most
Right.
of the time.
You'd only be
a
able
big
to
flag.
read it in a very windy day,
Yes, a very windy day.
But the yard sign would also, it's not held stiff, right?
It's held, it's,
I
it's
mean, the yard
held
flag.
down.
on the
I'd be
edge of
stiff.
the flag.
Yeah,
What?
it's held on the edge of the
Oh,
flag.
I see. It's held up here and hangs down.
Yes, it hangs up here and
Oh,
hangs
see,
down,
I'm getting-
so you can
I'm
read the
getting
message easily.
They're small. They're what, 17 by something?
Right.
I don't know.
24 inches or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe that would be better than a sign.
Poor
Maybe
Carol,
that's
she's had to
flag.
talk to
Oh, Carol.
repeatedly about this, but this is what happens when you get a lot of good brains together. We come up with interesting ideas. I don't know. You want
I'm
to,
kind of liking the idea of that flag better than the yard sign now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
the yard flag, you're
The
like,
yard, the
flag.
yard flag.
Garden
Better.
flag, garden flag.
Yeah, they're
You
usually.
do have a lot of those signs around town, that Havre de Grace Together sign, that's
Mhm.
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah, the
yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and Paula charged $25 for those Havre de Grace Together signs. Which,
Well, could
I-
Carol find out how much it would cost to have the little garden flags printed up? It only has to be printed up on one side unless somebody wants it two-sided.
Right.
Right. I'll find a price for both, one side. and the
Okay.
other.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
see
good
what the
idea.
size, see what size she recommends, because I have seen different sizes in those kind of flags. Or,
just
I mean,
Just a
there's-
quick remark about the expenditure of this money. I was thinking that we sort of could slide into this decision and expend the money before the end of June. But if, in fact, we want to go forward with the either yard flag, garden flag, or the big flag, or both, or something, it would be ideal if we could have these made before May, because May is National Preservation Month. So it'd be wonderful to get people to fly them during the month. So that's just a thought. And I don't know whether that's even doable with what Big House Signs is able to produce and all that stuff. But
Yeah, because we don't really have anything to vote on. I mean, we don't have anything specific to vote on, but I agree, we need to spend some of this regular budget.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need to spend this money before
Before
end of the
June
fiscal year.
30th.
Yeah.
So I wanna go over this one more time, because I wanna clarify and everything. Okay, so let's think about it for a moment. Now, these yard signs, I love Jim's idea of having one for those people who don't want a flag hanging from their porch. They don't either they don't want the cost, or they just prefer those little tiny flags, and they're so popular, and I could see those selling.
I can see those selling.
I
Definitely.
tend to, absolutely. I'll probably get a big flag though. I'll hang that flag from
Well,
my.
you have the setting for a big flag, yeah.
Yes, you do.
Right, but I do think that a lot of people are going to get those smaller flags, just as Jim said. But I also think we need to think about whether we want the yard signs for that walking tour. You know, that's a different thing. That is something that's
Yeah.
It's held up by two brackets. That's a different deal. That's something that we ourselves.
Your volume is low, Carol.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
On it. All right, I'll get closer. So I think that's a different situation. That is a yard sign with 2 poles, and that identifies the house that is on the tour. And just as Roger said, there will be some that say, I don't want that in front of a, during that walking tour, don't do that. I don't think there are going to be a lot of those people. I really do not. There may be 1 or 2, but for the most part, I think everybody's sure, go ahead. But I do think that is different from those small flags that Jim is encouraging, has recommended. And I do think we need to think about that. I mean, are we in favor? Because I do want to think about whether we can start ordering some so that we can use the funds that we have, begin the process. And I can get the scoop on the smaller flags that Jim recommended. And I think somebody said they know they're $25. Who's that? Was that you, Kathleen?
Yes.
Yeah, that they're $25 there. So we're talking about pretty much the same cost for the yard sign as those little flags. And the little flags, if we subsidize half, they're paying $12.50. So that's good, you know. So, Jean, what do you think?
I think we ought to vote. I think we ought to vote tonight to specify a specific amount or a range that we authorize spending to do to purchase the small garden flags. And to obviously spend some of our own money on that.
We don't have an estimate. We don't have a figure for the small garden flag.
Yes,
If we're going to have that
Well,
also.
someone thought they were $25.
Okay.
But I thought Carol wanted the yard signs for.
Put that aside for a minute. What we want to do now, if you forgive me, what we want to do now is get flags made that can be used for the Preservation Month. We could order the yard signs
for
that
this
would be
year.
stick in the ground. Get some of them with this year's money, and then
Right.
get the rest. Yeah, I'm sorry, Kathy, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No, it's
so
okay.
so if we voted to spend like $1,000 on purchasing a supply of the garden flags with the expectation that half the cost would be paid by the homeowner and half would be paid by us, that would produce how many signs for $1,000?
Let's see.
1,000 into 12, it's like what?
400? 400?
It's 4 to 100.
It would be
so
about 80, it would be about
400.
80 signs.
Oh, 80?
It would be about
No.
80 flags for,
Oh, if they're 25 each,
It's,
you get 4 out of 100.
yeah, 4 out of 100, but then they're paying for half of
I'm
that.
saying half, yeah, but I'm saying we would be paying half, so
Oh,
so 80 times 1250 is $1,000.
Okay, so I don't know, is that enough? You want to purchase
We
more
should
signs?
increase our budget. That's not very many. We haven't even gotten to the big flags yet. We're still talking about the little flags.
Well, I didn't think we were going to do both, the big flags.
Yeah, I
And
thought we
the
were gonna do
little
the big
flags
flags too. Some big flag, Carol?
I think the issue is purchasing a lot of something. We know we want to still do the big flags, but we don't need to worry about them right now. I think for just now, if we could allow Carol to go back to big signs gets a bunch of small flags purchased and get them out in time to be there in May. I mean, this is not much lead time for her to produce these
No,
flags.
it's not.
So that's what I'm encouraging, is for us to make a decision to authorize the expenditure of a certain amount to purchase a certain amount of the garden flags. The larger flags aren't so much an issue because we know she can produce them. I mean, she could probably produce one if somebody really wanted it. So, in the meantime, we could have a flyer about the big flags. But I think that the idea is to have real large number available as soon as we can.
What about 100 flags then?
I'm sorry?
100 flags?
100 of the little ones.
100 garden flags.
Yeah. So, yeah, $1,200, $1,250. Yeah.
100.
Well, it actually, you're gonna have to put out the money because you're not gonna have them sold, so you're gonna have to pay the whole freight.
Got to pay the
Oh,
whole.
yeah. Oh, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
You said these are 25 each, right?
Well, we're thinking there'll be 25. We don't know for sure.
Something like that. So
It's the same
we get
cost.
4 for 100. And so for wait a minute.
If it's 25, it's gonna be 2,500 if you get 100. But I don't think it's gonna be that much if you order 100.
Yeah.
The price comes down with quantity.
With
Of
quantity.
course. Mhm.
So I think maybe just try to figure out find out what the price is by volume. Let's say you want 50 and then ask her how much 100 would cost. And then you would know, a better break even or a break point. And then you just have to figure you're going to have to pay for the whole price because she can't give it to you on time, basically, while you wait to sell these flags.
Oh, no.
So,
And the other question is, we could take 20 flags and tell people that they're free. And then, people say, oh, where'd you get that flag? Oh, you can buy them now. That's another thought. Or continue to subsidize them, but not make them free, make them half price or something.
Right. That's what I thought, that we were going to pay the whole $25 at first when we first started talking about this. So
Yeah, and then as people bought them, it would cost them $12.50.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because this would be a good way to promote them.
well,
To give a few away for free.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Well, you brought it up, but I think it's a good idea.
No, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, can we make a motion? You want a motion, Jean?
Visualize, okay, we've got 70 houses in Havre de Grace that we recognize as being preservation worthy. So we could probably name another 70 without much effort of people that, its houses are interesting for preservation reasons. Does 100 do it? If everybody, either got a free flag or accepted our offer of a half price flag? I don't know. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if all of Union Avenue had these little flags in the yard? I mean, what's our objective? Is 100 enough? Is 100 not worth too?
Could we start with 100?
Sure.
We start with 100 and have a motion and vote on it to
Yeah,
have
if
100 made.
you want to pass it tonight, we're going to have to think of a number, whether it's 50 or 100,
Right.
and do it.
100.
Yeah, and do it. Exactly. Right.
well, why don't we make a range, because we don't know what the price is. So just make a range and say we'll approve from 50 to 100 based on the price. And within a couple of days, you'll have the price. But in order to get the vote out, so that you've given yourself a range in terms of how many to order.
Okay. That sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay, do you want me to verbalize the motion?
Could you verbalize
Sure.
it, Becky?
Or maybe you could do it better, Carol. Okay. Well, I move that the Historic Preservation Commission, that we purchase from Big House Signs a number of flags, 50 to 100, of the garden flags that say our history is worth preserving. What is that good? Anything else? Is that a good enough
Don't think of
motion?
me.
You might want to say, not to exceed $1,500 or something like that.
It's gonna be more than 1,500 though, if we get 100 flags.
Well, we don't know the price, so let's put a limit on it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we could put a $2,000. I mean, it depends on what whether you want to give Carol the authorization or not. I mean, I'm fine with $2,000. I know she'd
I'm
probably.
fine with that too.
All right, well, I say, as part of the motion, then up, whatever number we can get up to, that would cost no more than $2,000.
Okay.
Okay,
I second the motion,
Yeah.
Kathy.
Thank you.
I vote aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Do I hear a vote?
Roger,
any,
vote.
he's busy
Oh,
writing
Roger's
it down. Any discussion? I should have called for that before the vote. Okay, we'll do that. Thank you, Carol, for your efforts on this.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Carol.
much, Carol.
Yes, thanks, Carol.
I think we should try to get a little publicity on this. Figure out some announcement we could make about encouraging people to fly the flags during the month.
Yeah, we do need some kind of publicity.
But
In
I,
the old days, we go in front of city council and have a, presentation.
Well, I think we can do that in May, can't, yeah.
We could do that.
Yeah, we could do that, and well, maybe along with our award presentation or whatever.
That's a great idea with the.
We can
awards.
have the flags there that night, yeah.
Yeah, and then Dave Anderson, the reporter, and he can, put it in the Aegis.
Right, he always does. May I say something? Carolyn, we're gonna need a date in May for our award presentation. Should I just bring this up next month? Let's see.
No, it has to get on the agenda. So do you have a date, the first or the second? I would think you'd want the first Monday.
I
of the
think we
month.
usually do the first Monday, but sometimes the second Monday. It depends on what what else the council has, on the agenda. So
All right,
I
May
think,
3rd. May 3rd is the first Monday, so I'll send a message to Risa to see what else is on the agenda.
okay,
Right.
because we don't want to be on if there's another long presentation that same
Yes,
time, we want to be the focus.
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah, well, the next one is the 17th.
Okay, so either May 3rd or May 17th. Whichever one would be good as far as giving us enough time to get some attention.
So Jim, what were you?
But you wanted to get them out in May.
Yes, and then that's when we give them. Well, that's when we have our presentation. The award winners come to City Hall. We give them.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I understand that. So, but Jean, if it's the 17th, then you wouldn't put them out. You wouldn't get them out in time for what you wanted, or would you? In
No,
May.
it's just anytime during the month of May would be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Oh, okay. Right now, of course, I'm talking about something separate. So I probably shouldn't have brought it up.
No,
To
but I
make
do
that-
like, no, it's fine to bring it up. I do like the idea of having, if this whole flag thing works out,
Yeah.
of having a few that evening when you
Right.
give the award at the city council meeting. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
All right, well, let me find out.
Jim
what
is
the
saying
schedule's
something.
gonna be like. The first
Jim.
council meeting is the night before the election, so the election's the next.
We lost Carol.
Carolyn, you
Carol,
just,
turn
You're
your
muted.
mute
there you
on.
go.
Yes.
Sorry, I was on and then I was off. Anyway, so the first council meeting is the night before the election, and then the second council meeting. So I'm thinking maybe the first council meeting, they'll keep it light. I don't know. I can't remember from
Okay,
last
that would
year.
be good. The first council meeting, I think, would be better if that.
Yeah,
was
that's
good.
what I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So they might have a light agenda.
Okay, so it's May
Go ahead.
3rd. Sounds great. Can I interrupt here? Jim, what are you trying to say?
Because every time can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we
Yes,
can.
yes.
Every time I try to say something, nobody can hear me. And
Ah.
it's the same,
Well, I think it's your proximity to your microphone.
Yeah.
Is the mic
Yes.
in the laptop?
I can't get any closer. I
Okay,
don't,
that's good. We can
That's
hear you
good. Where
there.
you
can
are
hear
now,
you.
it's fine.
okay, I'm going to say it. Nobody say anything. A couple thoughts. One, in terms of selling the flags and May being Historic Preservation Month, that's also the month of the first Friday in town. It doesn't
Oh, yeah.
take for an organization to get a booth for First Friday, and I suggest that we wrestle up some folks among us, and we set up a table and sell the flags at First Friday.
It's a great idea.
I'm going to say everything I have to say because I just never have any luck trying to say something otherwise. So the second thing, we haven't talked about it, and I hate to sort of like bring this up now, but it's only because I just want to let you know what I know because it hasn't come up. We talked about getting a donation together for the Ernest Burke statue. I talked with Carolyn about this since our last meeting, and she suggested that it would probably not be a good idea to take that out of the city given funds, but rather from the escrow fund. So that would be the answer to making a donation there. And that is all I have to say. And I'll try not to say anything else.
Oh, no.
Oh, Jim, we want to hear what you have to say.
That's
You have great
right.
ideas.
But it just doesn't come through. I mean, I'm not.
But that, I think you weren't close enough
Just,
before.
Closer now.
no, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
So anyway,
Appear that way.
Jim, how much, should we talk about the donation and how much, should we make a vote on the donation?
Oh, what? Oh, for the Ernest Burke? Well, I don't want to. I'm just saying that now. I'll leave it to the chairman to decide when she wants to bring that up because we're sort of in the middle of something else right now.
Yeah. You probably didn't see my email. I actually asked you to report on that tonight.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
why I'm doing it because.
Yeah, no, it's good. I didn't specifically have it on the agenda and I apologize for that, but no, it's fine. I'm not clear on the whole escrow thing, but I thought we had to go through a city approval process of some
We
kind.
do.
Yeah, so why don't we go ahead and decide, wasn't $500 suggested earlier?
Was.
Yeah. Why don't, if I'll make the motion, we can, if the city just down out of the escrow, then that's what it is. But I think this is certainly historic related and we're not giving it to a club or anything. We're giving it for a historic marker. So I think we can make the case that it's, and we raised this money. It wasn't city fund, wasn't taxpayer raised money.
Correct.
Right. It's the same money it's the same account that you use for the medallions.
Yeah, the Lafayette
Yeah.
Trail.
No, I absolutely very much like the idea personally. I think it's a really nice thing to do. You know, I have no objection at all. I don't know how others feel. I think
Yeah, I'm all for it.
about it, don't we? Yeah.
Well, I move then that we request the city to send the check from our escrow, the amount of $500 to the project of Havre de Grace for the purpose of assisting in the establishment of the Ernest Burke statue.
I second it.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen. Can I hear a vote to approve the motion to make a donation of $500 to the Ernest Burke statue fundraising organization?
How about all in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
I,
Absolutely.
Opposed?
Just a quick aside, I was looking for something else one day and I noticed, I'm pretty sure that Community Projects supports the Ernest Burke program.
They do.
Yeah, and process for making the donation, I think through Community Projects, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
great. All right, wonderful. No, that's a great thing to do. Does anybody know actually what house he lived in? Does anybody know? Ernest Burke. I was trying to do some reading about him the other day and I was curious where he actually lived in Havre de Grace. Nobody knows. Okay. Let's see what else. I think that's it for me.
Yeah, one other thing, I just want to tell everybody, you all saw my email. So the 3 plaques that we're giving our award winners
Mhm.
The total price is going to come to $413.40, but we don't have the invoice hasn't been sent to the city, but Jim and I got it. I gave it to Jim and Kathleen and to the officers. So that's going to be coming out of our regular account.
Yes.
So just so you know.
So our regular account will be closer to 4,200 after that's been paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for
Okay.
pointing that out.
Jean,
Yep.
Jean, did you want a statement or any kind of information about the drawing or the paintings?
If you'd like to mention it, sure, please.
Well,
Yeah,
it's been hard between being away and then all this
I
weather.
know. Yeah.
Just didn't bother. But this week, I was able to get an initial sketch just from her, just to kind of see what I liked about. I started with the house on Market, and I discovered I didn't like the view I was looking at, and also I need to do it in the morning because of the lighting. So this
Yeah.
morning I actually had a chance to go out, and what I would like to do is you start with a little bit of pencil so you know where you're going, but it's like you do a somewhat like free ink, and then you do some wash over it. So all I have right now is the actual, I don't know if you can see it.
Just lightly, yeah.
Lightly in, and part of it, see, there's a big tree on the one side, and I'm
Yeah.
going to take advantage of the tree. I'm going to actually kind of bring it forward because right now it's bare, but it's going to have leaves on it, so I can kind of pick and choose what I let show through. Which is
Sure.
a great way
Can I
to do
see
it.
the screen again?
I don't have to do as much. I have big tree there, kind of with things you can see inside, you know, like areas where the leaves are not as thick. So it's an architectural kind of thing. Anyway, so
That sounds wonderful.
progress.
Yes.
And I'm just going to devote a lot more of my mornings now to go and get that one finished.
Wonderful.
The
Yeah.
Hirsch one is going to be interesting because it's a little harder to. I have to work at that one a little bit. But
Yeah, the house is kind of hidden, isn't it?
it's kind of hidden. It's hard to kind of see it, and there were all kinds of vehicles parked in front of it. So all I got was a quick couple of pictures, just to kind of see if I could get an idea of what I wanted to do. But it's also going to be I'm hoping these people already know that they're going to get an award, because I might have to explain why I'm sitting there. What I'm doing.
They do know.
Oh, they know.
Car this morning, and I can do that from the car in a lot of ways. It's a lot nicer if I can be sitting out and doing it. So, and I had to do a little research also because I got a series of videos by this one artist, and I really like his style, and I wanted to learn a little bit more about what he does, and it's just fascinating. So I'm kind of back and forth, like seeing more of the videos, but also I want to like follow through and get this. So I think I should have enough time to get everything done.
Good. Oh, I think it's just wonderful you're able to do this and have the talent to do it. It's exciting. It really is.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Ellen.
Oh, and
Thanks, Ellen.
Oh, gee. Oh, my.
It's just on a piece of paper, but I'm going to put it in the book. So
nice. You got to do Adam sometime, Alan. Okay. Anything else anybody wanted to say? I did have on here that and it seems like we have got so much going on that I won't pursue it. But I think at some point we ought to try to see if we can get one of our members have the time to attend an occasional planning commission meeting. I think we all acknowledge that we need to learn more about, what's going on in city government and in the commissions, and having Erica here last month was, I think, very useful, and we can do a little of that as time goes forward. Yeah. Anybody have anything else?
Roger was going to discuss the sign at Graw Alley. Roger.
Oh, I'm gonna put the history is worth preserving sign up right on Market Street. There's two existing posts that held up the green team sign when they had
Oh,
the
yeah.
the
Mhm.
community garden there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut those posts down to the
Mhm.
level of the railing behind it. And then I've got some copper caps that I got at Home Depot, which I'm donating the cost. So,
Okay, thank
no
you.
cost
Great
to
idea.
anybody.
Thank you.
And then I'm going to put the sign
Sounds
there,
very
so
handsome.
it
Yeah.
won't interfere with the view of the murals,
The horses.
but it
uh-huh.
should still be high enough that everybody going up and down Market Street will be able to see it.
Oh, I think that's great.
And I
Good.
hope, hopefully within the next week or so, I'll be doing that.
Thank
Wonderful.
you, Roger.
Yeah. Those banners have held up pretty well, haven't they?
They're very durable.
Yeah,
they
'cause this is,
they're
they're
good quality.
they're 3 years old this summer, coming summer. So yeah, I think we've done well with those. And
Very good quality.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right, very good. So does somebody want to wrap this up? Vote to adjourn? Anyone opposed? Okay.
No,
All right, okay. Carol, thanks for doing this flag thing, and Roger for taking minutes, and Kevin for taking minutes last month. And for Jim, we're happy to hear from you.
Yes, Jim.
Yes.
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 Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we're gonna get you.
No,
That's it.
But I enjoy all of everybody's pets.
See, you can't
That's
meet
right.
a bunch of stuff, and I'm
All the animals.
but everybody else gets the yellow box but me. So I don't know. Now, see, I get one now because nobody else is making it anyway.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we won't be zooming. That's all I can.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.